What's up, dudes and dudettes? Welcome back to Just a Dude podcast, where we keep it real, dig into life's big questions, and maybe figure out a thing or two along the way. I'm your host, Nathan, just a dude trying to navigate this wild world with you. Today, we've got Amanda Russo, aka the Breathing Goddess, joining us. She's a breathwork pro, mindset coach, and someone who's been through the ringer and come out stronger. We're talking life shifts, grief, and how to stop feeling stuck. Plus, maybe I'll learn how to breathe properly for once. If you've ever felt like life's got you in a chokehold, this episode's for you. Stick around. All right, let's bring in Amanda Russo. She's the host of Mander's Mindset, a podcast all about getting unstuck and living your best life. She's a breathwork detox facilitator, a transformative mindset coach, and even a divorce paralegal. Amanda, welcome to the show. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us here on Just a Dude podcast. You know, we're just a podcast for normal, everyday folks that try to learn new things to enhance our lives. So we're so glad that you joined us. And with that, can you give the audience a little bit, like your thin elevator pitch, a little bit about Amanda, the Breathing Goddess?
Yeah, absolutely. So I call myself the Breathing Goddess. I am a breathwork detox facilitator. I also host two podcasts. I host Mander's Mindset and the Breathwork Magic podcast, and been doing that about 2 years, been facilitating breathwork about 2 years. And I first got into breathwork because I did one session and it transformed my grief to gratitude, and I was hooked ever since.
Wow, that's amazing, because breathwork is something I feel like, I've heard about it, but I don't really know what it is. So I was kind of intrigued when, you and I hooked up through Podmatch, because I was thinking, man, this is going to be something, because my wife's always into a lot of natural things to try to, make yourself a little bit better. And let me trust you, I'm kind of getting on that kick. I don't want any foreign medicines or anything like that. I'd rather do things as naturally as possible at this point in my life. But yeah, can you kind of give us a little idea about what breathwork is, and, just so the normal everyday people can kind of understand what we're talking about today?
Yeah, so it is very difficult to explain in words. I will say that. But we like to say it's like 20 years of therapy in one session. It's similar to meditation. It's almost like meditation on steroids. It's more intense than meditation. And I always tell my clients, we call it breath work for a reason. It's going to seem like this easy thing when I'm teaching you how to do this. In the moment, it is not going to feel easy at all. It's going to feel like a lot of work.
Yeah, anything worth doing is you got to put some work into it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And so, Amanda, your podcast is all about kind of shifting your mindset, like when you're stuck. And what got you into that? Was there like a moment where you were just like, yeah, I need to change. I need to change something?
There were a few, honestly, there were a few. And just with those few different shifts, I was like, now I need to start this podcast. One of them being I was overweight my whole childhood, most of my life, and I lost and maintained a 70-pound weight loss. And that was not easy. I'm really short. I'm super little. I'm not barely 5 feet, and I was almost 200 pounds at my heaviest.
Wow.
So even for
And
proportion wise, it don't,
I can relate to that story, because I'm 5'5", and at my heaviest, I was 360 pounds, and now I'm down to 215. But it's still, there's still a lot of weight on the smaller frame for a regular guy, So I totally get that. And trying to keep it off, that's even harder than just losing the weight, isn't it? I mean, it just really feels like it is. But so, being overweight and being smaller, how did you transition? Was there like a point where you said, you know what, that's it, I'm done, I've had enough, I need to do something? Or was it, like you said, a combination of things?
So I had tried different things, and then I even developed what I didn't realize was actually an eating disorder in high school, where I was very strict. I was only eating one thing, and started losing weight. Went to college, put it back on, because you don't have just these fruits and vegetables. I'm in
Right.
the dining hall. I had what I had. So, you know, and then it came to the point where I gained some weight back, not all of it, but then I was walking up the third floor to my apartment at the time, and I was out of breath, carrying nothing in my hand. And I was just like, I'm done with this. Something's got to change, and I actually approached it the final time in a different way than I had ever done before. And I even had a personal trainer who was my friend at the time. He still is. We just don't talk as much. But he was like, you're not going to be successful if you do it this way. And I'm like, listen, I cannot do all of this. So
Mhm.
I started going to the gym, but I wasn't changing my eating at all. Like, I'm like, listen, I'm not meal prepping. I'm not counting macros. I can't, like,
Yeah.
you
It's such a
want
pain,
me to
isn't it?
wake
Yeah.
up one day and be like, I've never walked into the gym besides when I was like obsessed with just like the treadmill doing cardio. I've never meal prepped. I've never done all this. I'm just going to wake up one day, snap my fingers and be a different woman. No, I'm not.
Yeah,
Okay,
no way.
it's going to last for a week. Then I'm going to be disappointed. Then I'm going to gain even more weight back. I'm
Yeah.
not doing that.
And
I'm
if
going to
you
do one thing and see where it goes.
And you know what? That's a great strategy because the issues that we have, right, they didn't come overnight. So it's not like we're going to fix them overnight either. And we don't know exactly why we got into these types of situations that we had. So therefore, we don't know what's going to work. And I love the fact that you decided, you know what? Let me just try one thing at a time. Let me not overdo it like most of us do. And I know being a man, we always overdo everything. So, it's just one of those things where, I have to commend you on that because a lot of us don't think of just taking that first step and just doing one thing at a time and see what works. But obviously, I mean, you've done things from strength training, meditation, and now breath work, and that's kind of turned things around for you, right?
Yeah, no, it really has. And I was even able to lose about 32 pounds in like 6 weeks.
Wow.
Even without changing the diet, I added in water because I had told my mind, like, I don't want to sound like I am depriving myself. I'm not going to say you can't have the cookie. I'm going to have more water. I'm going to have more of like the good things. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm not taking anything from myself. So I'm just adding. And like
I
it
love
didn't
that.
seem like, what am I missing? I'm not missing out on anything. And I lost 32 pounds.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so how did breath work play into all that? I mean, I think we kind of started getting into what breath work really is. And I know you said it's difficult to explain, but is it like different breathing patterns or what exactly, can you give like an example that maybe the listeners can help understand so they know where we're going?
So there's different types of breath work as well, like there's Wim Hof, which I'm sure people have heard of, possibly. I facilitate breathwork detox. It's a conscious, connected breathwork technique, and it helps you tap in to the subconscious and really get past like the mind. And what's interesting? Like back when I had first started losing all this weight, I had not even done breathwork at that point. I had not even discovered it, didn't even know what it was, hadn't done it at that point.
Yeah. So was breath work like when you did discover it, was that your natural next step then that like took you to that next level?
Took me to which
Like for yourself, just, did it help round out everything that you were doing once you discovered it?
yeah,
Yeah, and it does it, so does it not only help with your mental well-being, but also physical as well?
yeah. And it meets people where they're at, depending on what physical ailments you have. Like I personally don't have a lot of physical ailments myself, so I haven't like experienced a lot of those benefits from it. But
Yeah.
I've witnessed a lot in my clients. I had a client one time, and this was kind of wild because sometimes people tell me stuff, sometimes they don't tell me stuff. And I'm always like, you can, like, this is not information I share. Like,
Yeah,
just tell me,
exactly.
like, just so I know. Like,
It's
but I
almost like
had
attorney-client privilege, right? Whatever says here, we're gonna stay here, right?
But I had a client one time who had like rotator cuff pain and she was going for physical therapy. She was supposed to get surgery on her rotator cuff and she did the breathwork technique. And it's so wild to me, but she had more pain in her shoulder than she had ever experienced in her life. And then it went to her knee and then it went down to her legs and then it was just gone.
Just
She
kinda like
didn't
it flowed through the body and out her feet, right?
Yeah, and it's like trauma that is leaving the body in whatever way it needs to. It's detoxing, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's like detoxing the body.
And with the breath work, is this something that people can do on their own? Like, can they read about it, or is it really better to kinda work with a coach like yourself?
So they could, like, I think it's good to learn about it from a coach, even like, like personal training. Like you
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
different techniques that you would learn in a different aspect from just online. But like with anything, you can learn about it online, hear about it, read
Sure.
about it. But even like having the benefit of having a coach, even that one time, that first time to show you like the technique,
Yeah,
what
exactly.
to
Like making
actually
sure
do.
you're doing it right. You're right. Cause you can
Yeah,
read something and think you're doing it right. Think about like a simple bicep curl, you're like, oh, okay, I just
exactly.
moved my arm like this. And they're like, no, you want to keep your arm down to your side. You want to stabilize the elbow. You want to, lift with the squeeze at the top. And it's like, that's all the stuff that you may not get from looking at that picture of saying, okay, this is how a bicep. So I can see how that would be the same thing with breath work as well. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's something that's just easy. I want to say it's easy to figure out probably with a coach more so than just trying to learn it on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for you and your clients, have you seen that your life in general has been, I mean, obviously you say you don't really have any ailments. So obviously it's working on preventing those things. That's a great thing, right? But,
Yeah.
for your clients that do have ailments, have you seen them have much improvement in whatever issues that they're trying to work through?
Yeah, a lot. And even a lot of like emotional. It helps a lot of emotions,
Oh, I
less
can imagine.
reactive to things. Like, yeah.
So when you're doing breath work, are you kind of just focusing on the breathing and focusing on something, mentally, or are you focusing on your breaths, the breaths that you take? How does that work? Can you give us like a little example? I don't want you to give away a whole program, but just trying to figure out, for our listeners.
Yeah, so it's the type of breath work I do, like it's open mouth breathing. It's a 3-part breath. And we've got music playing. It's a playlist that you're going through and I'm guiding throughout the experience, how they're doing it. I say different things throughout it. Like if I'm in person, I'm with them, I'm guiding them, I'm touching, like giving healing touches if that's something they're okay with. And it's similar to like almost like a group guided meditation,
That's where I was
but
going to ask you next. But yeah, that's
we say almost like meditation on steroids because like you have this loud music playing. It's not like this calm, like soothing, like meditation type music that you would picture. It's this loud, upbeat music. Like I've had people tell me like this is too loud. Well, like that is part of the point that it is really loud. It's shutting off, like your mind's not thinking. You're focusing on the specific type of breathing that you're doing. It's not a breathing like that we normally
yeah.
do. So like you're not really thinking.
I like it. So you're kind of like, with the loud music and stuff, kind of shutting down the other senses to try to dull them out so you can focus
Yep.
on the breath work and what you're looking at.
Yep.
Excellent. I love that. And these are types of things for me as I'm starting to get older, admittedly. I'm in my 40s now. These are the types of things I wish I would have known in my 20s because I'd probably be in better health now in my 40s. I think, a lot of things that we need to focus on, especially in the United States now, and I think we see this across the board, is we don't give enough due to mental health, right? Or mental health care. And this seems to me like a good part for someone who may be struggling mentally or having some options. And this is kind of where I'm going to pivot into with grief and loss, because I know that you've dealt with some of that in your lifetime as well. And I did check out your episode on grief, like letting go and holding on in the dance of grief. And I mean, that was really super, super heavy stuff, but you talk about losing your friend Lee and life's transitions. And, so what was the biggest thing that you've learned about dealing with loss, and how has this breath work really kind of helped you overcome that? Or at least I don't want to say overcome, but work with it.
I'd say it's helped me work with it by learning to shift the grief to gratitude. We're going to experience grief. Like that's something we are all going to experience at some point in our lives. Even there's different people who maybe they don't speak to a certain parent of theirs or they don't have a sibling, but you will experience grief from someone, whether it's a friend, a spouse, a cousin. You know what I mean? Like you will experience it. So just kind of knowing that, but also being able to take that step back out of myself and like, what do I appreciate from this person, from knowing them? Like, what am I grateful for? Because I had them in my life for however long I did, even if it was one experience. They brought one really amazing experience into my life.
Yeah, and it's great that you say that too, to focus on the positive sides too, because when I got married almost 20 years ago now, my best man was a Vietnam vet, and he passed away this last year. But That was one of the things that I looked at too, was that I didn't want to focus on any bad times or the fact that he was gone. I wanted to look more on the positive side and all the time that we did get to spend together over that 20 years, and even beforehand, to know that, to see where his progression was, where our friendship went from and where it went to. And, it is nice to not focus solely on the bad parts, but start to really look at the things that went well and that you had a good relationship. And I think, grief is really hard for so many people. And I know that for sure. But, definitely you're right. Focusing on the positives, not the negatives. That's such great advice, really, for anybody. And with you, have you used your breath work to ever help with these types of griefs or emotions and things like that?
Yeah, and honestly, not even intentionally. Like the first time I ever did breathwork, like it was the anniversary of my grandma's passing. And people have heard this story like 1,000 times, but like I didn't even know what breathwork was. I thought I was going to this meditation. It was an hour and a half long. My mom was like, "You're going to meditate for an hour and a half?" I'm like, "Mom, I don't know. I guess so." Like, I didn't want to sit home alone and just like wallow in pity. It was the anniversary of my grandma's passing. I didn't want to like celebrate. So I'm like, I'm going to go to this breathwork class.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of it, I was just thinking of all these different things that I'm like, she could have lived longer. Like, I should have had more time with her. She didn't see me graduate high school. All of these, like, things that no matter what I do cannot be changed. Like, I cannot bring back my deceased grandmother. Like,
No.
there's not enough technology in the
No.
world for me to, like,
Nope.
do that. So it's like you can think about all these things and wallow in it forever, but it's not changing.
Yeah.
So either you think about something else or
Yeah,
so
it's not good to just kind of linger on those thoughts of the what if, right? Because we can't change that at this point, especially when someone has passed on. I mean, we definitely can't change it then. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And you only, you have two choices. We can move on, celebrate their memory, or we can wallow in the self-pity that we've made for ourselves. And that's really not going to help anybody.
yeah, no, exactly.
That's
And I went to that breathwork class and I had no idea what I was going to expect. Like, I thought I was going to do like this calming meditation, whatever. It was not like that at all. And then by the end of it, my mind was just thinking of like all of these different situations that I was like so pissed at, to be honest. Like, I was just so mad about. I'm like, this cousin of mine had her grandmother at her high school graduation, all these different things. And my mind had just reframed every negative thought. And it was like, she saw you graduate 8th grade. You wore cap and gown in 8th grade. So you have graduation pictures. And it just reframed like every negative thought from
yeah.
something that I couldn't change to be like, well, here's how it's less worse almost. And I was like, I'm shifting my mindset literally from breathing. Like,
Yeah.
what? And I was literally blown away.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you do a lot too, is working on mindset shifts, right, with some of your clients. Is there any particular, I mean, other than breath work, and we've talked about that, but are there other things that you do to try to help your clients or friends that, with how to change their mindset?
I think a big thing is removing themselves from the situation. Sometimes, depending on the person, and not everybody likes this example, but placing somebody else in the situation, somebody else that they know. Like some of the older people that I work with can't understand the concept of removing themselves from the situation like it's a movie. So something I have started even recently is, so and so in your life. Let's pretend that this is happening to so and so. Like, what would you say to this person that in your life that is experiencing this? And it's like you would tell them something,
Yeah.
So like
You give
how
some type of advice or say something to them, right? And that's kind of what you're getting to, is saying, hey, step outside yourself, pretend like this is, instead of this being Nathan here, this is Amanda here. And what advice would I give Amanda on how to deal with this? And that's kind of what you're telling folks to do, right? It's just step outside yourself and say, hey, what advice would you give to one of your friends that were in the same situation? And then how does that not apply to you? Right.
yeah.
Because that would definitely be, an easy thing to tell. And it seems so easy, but when you're in the moment, sometimes you need that help to figure out, okay, I got to be out of this moment for a second.
Yeah. And sometimes even putting somebody else in the situation, like if this was so and so, what would you say to them? And people usually have an answer for that. Like, because I've said to people, well, if you removed yourself, and they're like, I can't imagine that if it wasn't me. Like, what does that mean? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so like your friend has a cousin as well, and this is a situation, and you're disagreeing with your cousin. What would you tell Bobby about his cousin? He's got a cousin that age too, and you compare it, and
Yep. And then they usually see, well, okay, now I know how to
yeah,
work with this thing. Yeah,
yeah,
and it's so funny because you don't think about that, when you're so close to it, but just having someone like yourself or even a friend say, "Hey, what would you do if I was in that situation? What would you tell me?" I mean, it seems so simple, but it's not. It's genius, really, what it is, just to say, "Hey, think about it." But yeah, you've used things to like conquer fear and stuff, and you've actually had guests like entrepreneurs and athletes on Mander's mindset. And so what was the common thread on how they smashed through their fear and like self-doubt? Because I know that's come up a few times on your podcast.
so I think a lot of how they've slashed their self-doubt is just a big thing. I think a lot of it even comes down to also removing themselves from like the situation. Like, if what would you tell somebody else, Like, or the doubt also, like, how are you going to feel about this down the line?
Yeah.
Like how you feel right today is going to be different, 5 years from today.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any guests or any stories that you have that maybe, bring you to mind about like how their role of mindset in overcoming obstacles might have been a good example for the normal everyday person? And I know I'm putting you on the spot there. You've had a lot of guests, so it's like, well, which one? That's like me asking you which guest was your favorite. No, I will never ask you. It's like asking which child's your favorite.
Think they just all have. I did a series, can't remember exactly which 4 episodes it was, but I did a series of 4 episodes. It was a forgiveness series, and these 3 ladies went through some pretty deep traumatic stuff, and they just talked about like how they were really able to forgive these people who did these horrendous things to them, and one of the women had this forgiveness process that was like really mind blowing to me because even as a breathwork facilitator, you meet a lot of people who have gone through like some deep traumatic stuff. It's almost
Yeah.
similar to therapy, whether it's like sexual assault, these different types of things that it's like it's some serious stuff, and this woman, her father had actually killed her mother, and she was telling me this how she was able to forgive him, and she wrote this book about it, and she basically reenacted almost like a scene as if this was happening with her father, and he was apologizing to her for doing this, and she sat in her house, and she was at her kitchen table, and she even moved, like she moved to be as if she was him and moved seats, and she had this dialogue with herself back, and
Wow.
and she said what she would have wanted to hear from him, and I got chills hearing this. I was like, wow, because we've all been through different stuff
Yep.
that like forgiveness is hard no matter
It
what it
is.
is. Like, we've all had to face that, and some people have had to face it with more difficult things, not to compare, but I
Yeah.
was like, father killing,
Yeah,
that's
that would be
intense.
that's a hard one to kind of forgive somebody about. Yeah. Yeah.
But like her process, I was like, wow. And she's like, that was the first thing that started to help her because, somebody had said to her, what would you want him to say to you if he were to apologize, if he were to say he's sorry? And then she like reenacted this. I think it could make a lot of sense,
Yeah.
like how that could help. Like, you are hearing it, even though it's not from who like you want to be hearing this from, you're still hearing the words.
And I have to tell you, even if you're not hearing, like you said, even if you're not hearing it from the person, the fact that you could put yourself into a position where you can forgive that person, even if I don't want to say it's based off lies, but based off of your own interpretation of what you would want to hear, that forgiveness then allows you to take that healing step one step further, because now you're saying, you know what, I forgive you for what you've done, regardless of the reason behind it. But now you start healing yourself too. because that's a tough thing. I mean, you could talk to anybody, and I'm sure you have, Amanda, that will sit there and say, I will never forgive that person no matter what. And it's like, I'd rather be the type of person to say, you know what, I get angry sometimes, but it's like, I want to be as forgiving as possible because I know that I'm not always the easiest person to get along with. And, sometimes I can say things. So I would want people to forgive me as well. But yeah, you're right. If you're going to start healing, that forgiveness is a big piece of it. And if you can't lock that out, you never will fully heal from that scar.
Yeah, and it'll just be weighing you down, like it's not a burden that that other person is carrying. It's
Yeah,
only affecting you. And
exactly.
and that's something I heard at one point, and I was like, like what is this helping me? Like it's not doing anything to them and it's just making my life worse.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a great point, and that's one of the things why I wanted to say, because with your show Manders Matters is you talk about a lot of great things and just how to change that mindset, and that's I don't want to say that's what my podcast is about, telling extraordinary stories of normal everyday people. Hopefully you don't get upset that I say, hey, you were a normal everyday person that took something and took physical fitness, you took breath work, and it was something you enjoyed, and you said, you know what? Not only do I enjoy doing this, but I can teach it and help other people enjoy it. And that's what the extraordinary part of that story is to me, because you could sit there and take the classes all day long, but if you learn from it and then can take that to other people, that's extraordinary in my book. So, I mean, we need these days, we need people to be more level headed, more, have a little bit more love in their heart, say better things. And, I just think that, people working with you, that would be a great way for them to start if they feel that negative pressure on them. Get your mindset in check, do some breathing work, get with Amanda here, and she is the breathing goddess after all. So, so like for me, and this is just a weird question I came up with, but occasionally, like I have this dumb voice in my head that tells me, hey, I'm going to mess up this podcast. The number one thing that messes it up is your face on the screen, but how do I tell, like for someone like that, like how do I tell myself that little voice to say, you know what, shut up. You're doing just fine.
I mean, I think a lot of us are always going to we might have that little voice, and just reminding yourself even of that evidence. Like you've done how many episodes? You've done over 100 episodes by now. Like even that actual physical proof, like, you've done this before. Like you've done it however many times. Like there's nothing that can go wrong. Giving yourself that little reminders of, I can even edit this. You
Yeah.
can, like,
Yeah.
all these little, like, I like to call them mindset shifts, like,
Yeah.
but like these little reminders of whatever will help you, even like the actual logic, like the facts, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I've done it this many times. I've done it. I've spoken to somebody in a different times, whatever, different examples of different things you've done to show yourself in like literal facts, like that you
Yeah.
can't dispute, that
And you know
even your
what?
mind can't be like, no, well, technically you did,
Right. Yeah.
like
And
that
you know what?
you can't argue.
And just thinking back to something you said earlier, but reframing that negative as a positive, or reframing what we might perceive as a failure as a growth. And here's the thing, we're always going to fail on something. It's a given, right? But what we do with that failure is what really makes the difference. Because if we can learn from that failure, learn from our mistakes and grow from them, that's only going to make us better people in the end.
Yeah. And I think failing is it's just like the first attempt at learning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was, I didn't fail 100 times. I found 100 times how to not make a light bulb, right? I think it was that Thomas Edison that said that, whoever said that. But yeah, it is funny but it's just something so simple that we don't think about, but just taking that failure and reframing it as a growth opportunity. I mean, it seems like it should be common sense that everybody should know that, but we don't think about that at all. So excellent advice. Amanda, are you ready for some rapid fire questions? These are short questions. There's only 5 of them. I like to do them with all my guests. It's just based on your background, but no overthinking. Just fling out there what you like. But what is the weirdest place you have ever done breath work? At a beach? Were you sitting on the beach relaxing, just doing some breath work, or did something happen where you were like, oh no, I gotta get some breath work in?
I was actually like climbing on these like rocks things. Like it was not an area to normally be doing breath work. And I just laid down on these rocks and I was like, this would be cool with the breeze to like do it
Yeah.
here. And yeah, I did.
Yeah. So you just
One of
took in
my
the whole
friends took
area.
a photo of me because they were like, what are you doing? But
That's awesome though. I
I've
love
got a
that.
cool photo of me like doing breath work with water behind me.
Heck yeah. I love it. All right. And we talked about music before because I know you use it in your breath work when you're doing your guided breath work. But what's one song that pumps you up when life's rough that can really get you in that zone? Or a genre? Here, we'll go genre. We'll go more broader.
Some sort of pop. Some sort of pop. I'm a pop gal.
Are you like more modern pop or like, early 2000s, mid
Yeah, I'm
2000s?
an
Yeah.
early 2000s
Okay.
kind of gal.
Yeah, I can get on with that. Yep. I love it. The biggest fear that you've crushed lately, if any.
Well, okay. I don't know if this was a fear, but a little bit of a like, I don't know how to do this sort of thing. I actually hosted my first new moon ceremony event this past weekend with Breathwork incorporated in it. And I don't know if it was a fear, but it was something that like I had an interest in. I attended one before and I didn't necessarily know like what this ritual would be, but I just did a little bit of research. I created this ritual and I hosted it at a yoga studio and it turned out great. I'm hosting another one for the next new moon.
All right. So I got to ask, what is that? What is the new moon ceremony? I'm just curious, and I'm sure our listeners are too. And if you got another one coming up, right, let's let them know about it.
Yeah, so I still had the breathwork detox session, but I had a few women tell me that they wanted it to be more of a ritual type of experience. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what this means, but I'm going to make this more ritualistic. So I started it off with a guided meditation that I led them in to get them really like into the moment, in present, calm, cool, collected. Then I had journals that I had handwritten journal prompts in specific for the new moon to things they could call an intention, very specific questions like for like the time of the season. We had time for that. I had specific music playing during the journaling session. Then I went into a breathwork detox session, and then I made herbal tea, and I had a little tea circle. We had snacks, and
that actually sounds pretty awesome. That seems like it would
yeah,
be nice and relaxing.
it was. It was great. It was
I
great.
love it. All right. Question number 4. Sorry, I went off there because I was interested.
No worries. No worries.
All right. Coffee or tea? What's your go-to fuel for the breathing goddess?
I like flavored iced coffee.
Okay. So you're an iced coffee person. It's funny. My wife is an iced coffee person and I am a hot coffee person. I cannot drink it cold. Don't know why. But then again, I only drink black coffee. So that's it. Yeah. But excellent. If you could tell your younger, and this is the last one, but if you could tell your younger self one thing, what's it going to be? I like questions that make you think.
Whatever it is you want to do, just do it.
I love that. Yeah, you're absolutely right, because I think so many times we get ideas in our minds and they stay there and they stay there. And I think we tell ourselves, right, oh, you can't do that, or oh, that's not realistic for you. But you're absolutely right. You have to do it. Like when I started this podcast, it was like a year in the making and I just wouldn't hit that record button. And I never thought I would have guests, and now here I am with the breathing goddess. I mean, how does it get better than this? No, I am serious that, just the fact that I hit that record button the first time spiraled into something that I never thought it would be. And I get to meet so many interesting people and share your stories with everybody else that may never hear them. And that's what, it's one of those things where I agree with you 100%. Don't tell yourself no, tell yourself yes. If you want to do something, do it. I love it.
And there's so many times, like I feel like in life, we'll want to start a podcast, we'll want to start whatever it is, the business, we'll start going to the gym, but we're waiting for X, Y, Z and like to check all these boxes. And it's like at some point, you need to just start and do the thing. Like
exactly.
When I first started my podcast, I didn't even have a laptop. I was doing it on my phone and I just started it because, it was one of those things that I was like, I have always been such a planner. I'm making sure like A, B, C, D is like checked off. And I'm like, yo, I'm gonna be waiting like a whole year before I start this. And I'm like,
that's exactly what happened to me. Exactly. I was like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to have this. I got to have that. And then I'm hearing people, I went to, I don't know if you've ever been, but there's a Podfest. It's in Florida, but it's a convention for podcasters.
Yes, I have been.
Oh my gosh. I went to that, and that is really what kickstarted me, because not only did I find like everything, the learning opportunities were fantastic, but the podcast community in itself is just, I mean, we all want everybody to succeed, which is, it hurts us if you succeed more than me, people are listening to you more. But I'm like, you know what? If you have success, that means we all have success. And that means we could keep doing this together. But yeah, Podfest was a huge thing for me to push me over.
When
And I'm
did
glad
you go to Podfest?
just
When
this
did you
last
go?
year. Yeah, 25
Okay.
January this year. So I'm definitely going back next year for sure.
I didn't go this past year, but I went the year before. I even got it.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Oh my gosh,
I had
look
an
at that.
amazing time. I had an amazing time.
I did too. Yeah. Well, I hope you can make it back this year because
Yes,
I think it's going to be even bigger.
go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in January.
That's awesome. But yeah, and then,
That's
learning these
wild.
tools with, Podmatch. I think I met Alex down there briefly.
Yep.
And, and that's really what got me started on this was I was like, wow, here's a platform that has all these interesting guests. And no matter what niche you're in, you can find someone for your podcast and great guests like yourself, And so it's like, there's so many tools out there to support us and to help us get our voices out there. And not only our voices, but the voices of others. And I think that's what the power of podcasting really has become.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and,
sorry
and
to go.
you never know. No, you're good. You never know like what gem or what you'll hear from somebody. Like even if you hear the same information, hearing it from somebody else might trickle that
Yeah. And like, the one thing that I learned about podcasting was in order to be successful, the number one thing is just be consistent. And I'm like, that seems like such an easy thing to do, but you don't think about that. Because you're always thinking, well, if I edit here, or maybe I add this cool music in, or maybe if I do a graphic, and then you're just sitting there being like, no, people just want to listen to the same show every Monday, or, whenever you release your episodes, they want to make sure it's consistent. They want to know that they can count on you, like the Breathing Goddess. They, your show, they want to make sure they know that they're going to be there every week, or however often you do release your shows, they want to make sure that Amanda is going to be coming back. And I think, so it makes sense. The consistency is the same. And I don't know, would that be the same for breathwork to see, how you use breathwork? The more often you use it, do you think the more it helps you as an individual?
Oh, yeah, 100%. The thing with breathwork though, like resistance comes up for people with doing breathwork because like it's not an easy thing. Like stuff comes up, emotions, thoughts, feel even like while you're doing the process. So like that's why it's called breathwork. It's not. And I make the joke all the time, like it's not breath easy. It's not breath lay. Like you're not you're laying down. Like you might be just laying, but like it's not called breath sleep. We're not sleeping. Like.
I love that. It's called breath work for a reason because you're going to put in some work.
Yeah. So like consistency is great with that, but people will have resistance. It's one of those things that like, it's not like a sound healing. Like you're not going to lay there and like, I've had people tell me like, this was not relaxing. Like, I get that. Like, like it's intense, like in the moment.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you with the detox part of that. That to me seems like it's intense. Right? Because you're trying to get all this crap out of your body.
Yep.
So so if anybody's ever had any type of addiction, I'm sure you can relate to what a detox is. It's getting all that crap out of your body, which is not easy, So, yeah. So Amanda, with your sessions, do you do one-on-one sessions? Do you do group sessions? Do you have like a studio that you use, or how do you get your message across, or how do you teach your classes?
So I do one-on-ones. I do them virtually. I do them in person. I do group classes at different studios. Honestly, I'm kind of like all over New England, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, pretty much all over there. I do virtual sessions in groups and virtual one-on-ones.
Awesome. So you could be working with people from all over the world, really, with a virtual session.
Yep.
That's pretty awesome. So that, and that's, you got to love technology that it brings us to this place to where, here you are in New England, but now your voice, or you can help others anywhere. If you've got an internet connection, Amanda can help you.
Yes.
That's awesome. Amanda, is there anything else that you would like our audience to know about you, about your process, or even how they can get a hold of you?
Great place to get a hold of me is Instagram. I'm most active over there. The Breathing Goddess. You can find me on there. Facebook is Amanda Russo. You can check out the podcast. I also host a breathwork podcast. It's called Breathwork Magic. If you want to even just hear more about breathwork, I speak to other breathwork facilitators. So like not just what I have to say about breathwork, things they've noticed with their clients. So it's kind of a nice resource to just even hear about what breathwork is, what you can experience, the magic of it, because I call it breathwork magic. But like if you want to even just information on it.
That's awesome. So what's next for do you have any new plans for your two podcasts that you host? I know that's quite a bit to host, but yeah, any new plans for those or anything that any new shows that people should look out for?
So I'm just still hosting them. Mondays, I release Amanda's Mindset, your Monday Mindset Shift. Friday, I release Breathwork Magic. That's pretty much what's it for that. Upcoming for me, I'm getting ready to head to Bali. I'm getting certified in sound healing. So I'm
Nice.
adding that to the plate, and I'm excited for that.
I have to assume the sound healing needs to be done in person though, right?
I've experienced it
Oh, have
virtually.
you? Oh, no kid. Well,
Yeah.
okay. That's because I thought, a
I
lot of
would
it had to do with the vibrations and stuff from the sound, but
I would think. I don't so I don't know how it works virtually. I've done it once virtually, so I don't know how if
yeah,
it's the same. I cannot explain that.
maybe it's
To
just the
be honest,
sound waves coming through your speakers or however you're doing it, right?
maybe.
Maybe. But
Or
hey, if it
maybe it's
works,
even just
yeah.
you're still hearing some of the noises, even
Yeah, that's a
because
good
not
point.
all of it's the
It's not
hertz,
all physical. Yeah.
yeah, and not all of it's the specific tuning or whatever, even the rattles,
Yeah.
there's different noise. So I'm not entirely sure, but
But that's
yep,
going to be awesome. You're going to add
yeah,
another skill to your repertoire to offer to your clients, which is
yep,
fantastic.
yep.
Awesome.
Have
And
you
then
ever left the country?
have I okay, so technically yes, if you want to be technical, because I've been to Canada a million times and I've been
Okay.
to Mexico twice. But that's as far as I've gone.
Okay.
So
Would you
technically I'm an
ever go to
international. Yeah.
would you ever go to Indonesia? Would you go to Bali?
Uh, it's funny because before COVID, I would say yes, 100%. I would have traveled anywhere in the world. However, after COVID, and I have a personal experience, and I'll share it with you. I had a buddy of mine who worked with me, who was he was a freelancer, but he worked with me, but he wasn't a part of my company, right? We contracted him out. Well, he went to India to visit a friend right before COVID and everything hit. Well, when COVID hit and they locked down all the flights, he was stuck in India for a year before he could come back. So now that kind of scares me a little bit to say, I'm not sure if I want to go to Indonesia for, and be stuck there for a year. But yeah, that's one of those, realistic fears that I've been thinking a lot about as far as going out of country since COVID happened. So not to frighten you away. I think we're okay now. I haven't heard of any new pandemic starting, but yeah, I think it'll be awesome to be able to go over there and learn though. I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic. I would love to visit everywhere in the world. I love history. I love seeing different cultures and I would just love to see it. But that fear of me is just too real. And part of me is like, you know what? There's still a lot of the US you haven't seen yet. So, but yeah, how do you feel about going overseas? Have you been overseas before?
So I went to Bali actually a year ago, right around
Okay.
now. A friend of mine gifted me a trip to this retreat she wasn't able to go to, super
Nice.
last minute. And I was like, okay, I'll
Heck,
book a last minute trip to Bali. I don't care. So I did.
how
And
was it?
it was great. I was only there for 10 days that time. Not to say only, but
Yeah.
this time I'm going for a month. So
Nice. So you're really going to be able to get in and dive into the culture and really learn a lot of stuff, which I still think that's amazing. I mean,
yeah.
there's so much stuff in that, that region that you can visit and see while you're there too. That's just absolutely amazing. I think, a lot of people don't realize in the United States when we say, they're like, oh, you're not well traveled with the world. And it's like, well, I don't think people understand how big the US is, that we could never travel the entire US in our entire lifetime. Yet, when you're like, especially Europeans think, well, I can go from England to France, in an hour. And it's like, well, it takes me from where I'm at in Ohio, it takes me at least 6 hours to get to Canada, and I'm sure it probably takes you a few hours, depending on where you are in New England, to get to Canada from where you're at. So it's like, it's not as close as in Europe and some other parts of the world. But no, that's great. I'm so glad that you're going in there. And I love hearing people learning other cultures, other medicines, because I truly think some of these other medicines that we probably counted as hokum, right, for years, we're now really realizing that no, they're not hokum. They actually work and they're better for you. Who would have thought? Something natural that doesn't put foreign, chemicals in your body is actually better for you. Who would have thought that? But excellent. Amanda, is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we call it an episode?
I don't think so, but feel free to reach out to me if anything resonated with you. If there's anything I'd love to hear.
All right, dudes, go listen to Amanda's Mindset. Link in the show notes. Amanda, thank you for hanging out. You're officially too cool for me. Most people are, but you officially are. If you like this, hit subscribe, leave a review, tell your dog about it, whatever works. Until next time, stay curious, stay positive, and keep being just a dude or dudette. I'm Nathan with Just a Dude Podcast. We'll catch you in the next show.